So I'd like to thank Cindy, Chet Ming, and Soren, and the organizers for inviting me, and also my fellow panelists who will be coming on stage. So please put your hands together to join me to welcome Dr. Jannie Chan and Audrey Tan. So please allow me to just share a bit about Jannie. Those of you who are in Singapore may know her already, but those from overseas. Jannie started her career or her life as a pharmacologist. She was teaching at the medical school before she met her husband then, who was selling watches in his parents' shop. And she started to learn how to get into the trade. Is that right?
No, he was a medical student. We got married in Melbourne and came to Singapore. I'm from Ipoh.
There you go. So don't believe everything you read or hear, which is why you have to validate. Well, she's a very successful businesswoman, a founder of Hourglass, a leading contemporary specialist watch retailer in the Asia-Pacific region. From a one boutique operation in 1979, the Hourglass chain exists across Australia, Hong Kong, Japan, Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand. She has many, many accolades, but I will just highlight a few. She received the WCEF World Chinese Economic Forum Lifetime Achievement Award in 2012. She also received the Lifetime Achievement for Outstanding Contribution to Tourism Award in 2011, and a member of the Business Advisory Council of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia Pacific. And the list goes on. And currently, she's also the executive board member of the Commonwealth Business Council. Now, we're seated this way because Jannie is 70 years old, and we have a very young panelist here who's 28, and I'm somewhere in the middle. That's why I'm seated in the middle. So between them, I have the average age. And as we all know, that wisdom is not necessarily exclusive to men, and neither commensurates with age. So we have a young panelist, and she's Audrey Tan. And because she comes from the world that's probably alien to some of us, I'm going to get her to introduce herself. So Audrey, could you please let us know a bit more about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Audrey. My middle name is Joy. And with my co-founder, we founded a startup called Playmula. And the mission behind the organization really is to empower children, young people, and their parents to build a positive relationship to money. And the way in which we do that is through technology, as well as through community experiences to get young adults together through a program called Honesty Circle. So we get people to start talking about what we don't talk about, which is money. And we have these conversations in a fairly lighthearted way. And we begin to explore some of these difficult topics to money, some of our challenges, as well as themes around, self-identity, our ownership, and the responsibilities that we have in stewardship of money and capital and assets and things like that. And from a technology standpoint, we have designed, a couple of simulations where young people can begin to simulate their life all the way from age 25 to 55. And through that process, they get to buy a home, get married, and perhaps, ask themselves some of the deeper questions around why they're making some of these consumer-based decisions in their lives.
That's great. Right. Yeah, wonderful. These two women. Thank you. So I asked the organizer, why do we have a panel of just dedicated to a topic related to women? And the answer I got was because there are not enough women leaders in the world. So I will therefore put forth to Jannie the question, what are the unique attributes that set female leaders apart from male leaders?
When I first started, when I was teaching university, gender is not a problem. But when you start going to the business world, it is a complete different challenges. Back in '79, when we set up a joint venture with Metro and sit on a publicly listed, with partnership with a publicly listed company, you realize then the mindset of the men and the women. I mean, I'm one of 7 men when we got ourselves listed under Transmarco back in 1982. I was told after the dinner that the boys will have their night out and you get home. I felt very much like a second-class citizen. But today, I would say things have changed. And things have changed for the better because we now realize, and especially our government and across the world, that women host 50% of the population. As now, when we're going into situations where more and more jobs are required, more and more manpower are required, more and more thinking people are required, definitely women are going to play a very, very important role today. And from my experience, especially over the last 10 years, and I look at my new organization, Save Our Planet Investment, which is really to bring oxygen back to the planet and wellness, anti-cancer, anti-AIDS. I realized that most of my key staff, who are women, stays with us. Men, after 2-3 years, they think they know enough, they go out. And we have a nurturing group, even within Hourglass, that when it's women, we nurture, we develop, we understand, we have compassion for families. We now listen to what our people want. When I first started Hourglass, it was very clear to me with my 10 people, they are my family. They are I have my genetic family, but I have my work family, my corporate family. And I would develop my 10 corporate family back in '79 to be leaders as I would nurture and develop my genetic family, who were at that time very young, from 1 to 5 years old. So during that period, the key thing is you're willing to share information, share knowledge, train them. I'm not sure how many of you have heard of the program Money and You. If you have, put your hands up. Okay. Well, I did Money and You back in '87, '88, Buckminster Fuller's principles, which is really his life principles. And a lot of the life principles is about win-win-win, your distinctions, learning to have the compassion and the love, energy, and a lot of the areas where in a corporate world, in a business world, you don't practice. And then I did Anthony Robbins. I was the first one to walk on fire, to believe that mind over matter. But more importantly is the personal growth that in corporate and in leadership positions, you don't have it. Because that is really about integrity, about character, about doing business in a win-win way, ethically, morally, and your responsibility, key is to your team who are there with you, supporting you, making things happen with you, and you need to have a program where you continue to motivate them, train them, retrain them, and at the same time share your rewards with them. I think women tend to think more of the people that they started with as their own family. So in a way, that culture of how we develop our companies become part of your bigger family and the philosophy of family. And I think that's very different from the male who's still more about my own ego, myself. Few of them are enlightened. Few of them have ever actually even spent time looking after the children. So they don't understand that everyone needs to be nurtured, developed. They're not good at communication because they never had to communicate. All they have to do is when they come home, particularly in my age time and the culture, the men are the gods and the lords, and they bring in the money. You just have to treat them very well because they're the ones that's looking after you. So I'm talking about probably 30 years behind, but today we now appreciate that every woman, and if you can see the world leaders today, they're all women. And I would assume, or I would presume, that it's because they've got qualities that the men do not have. Men work in silos. Women work in concurrent situations because that's our life balance. We have got to balance our parents. We have got to balance our siblings. In my time when my dad died when I was 17, we could have to balance our husband's life. We have to balance our children's lives. We are continually having a balance. And today, more and more in the business world or in the spiritual world, understand It's not about academics. It's not about what you've learned. It's about what you experience. It's about actions you take. It's about the failures that you make. It's about the lessons that you've learned. And the other key thing that's come up very much today is about emotions. Men hold their emotions. They keep their emotions. It's okay to talk about emotions, but do not get angry. Let it go. Do not allow it to come in to make decisions that will imbalance you. I think all those things are, I believe, women, because we are more emotional, it could be negative, but if you are emotional, it's fine. Be distinctive, be discriminating, have discretion as to how you manage and what decisions you make based on the facts you take. Thank you.
So thank you for that, Jannie. And I know you men may feel that you need to defend yourself. And thank you for not heckling, if you feel that way. So we are going to open to the floor, and please feel free to also share your views and ask questions and put forth your suggestions. But I'd like to now turn to Audrey and basically ask a younger generation who didn't have to fight those times where you have to be given space. You have the space, and how do you feel as a woman that you have been able to be inspiring and taking on the leadership that you have done so?
So I must say that I'm incredibly humbled to be here, especially with very distinguished speakers and people who have gone through life with so much wisdom. And as a young entrepreneur in our time today, as a woman, I feel so privileged, because in Jannie's generation, for example, a lot of it was around survival and putting kind of food on the table. And as a young woman, being able to study and being able to have access to education in this part of the world, I realize it's not something that many women in other parts of the world actually experience. And as a result of that, being an entrepreneur myself has led me to realize that being able to jumpstart something and to take ideas and turn it into action and to take it into reality as a woman in today's time is just so much easier, compared to my grandmother, for example, or my mom, who were in their times.
So do you see being a woman has been an advantage for you, or there were obstacles because you're a female?
Yeah. So I had this similar conversation with a friend as well, and I think, as a young person, sometimes this gender divide of whether I'm a female or male, it doesn't really come to the forefront of my mind. And maybe because, I've just been so privileged to experience this lack of, discrimination as a woman, and as an entrepreneur who gets to shape my own culture and my own organization, it allows me to kind of be free in that sense. But I realize again, and it's very humbling to know that again, this is very unique to my experiences. And again, there may be women who have been discriminated, in their other experiences in life as well.
But being in the business world, do you see any difference in the way you think compared to a male counterpart, for example? Do you see any differentiators or attributes that are perhaps slightly different?
Especially in technology, you go into a room and you meet 10 men, and the ratio is 10 to 1, right? 10 to 1 female. And I think one of the key distinguishing factors that I see that, Jannie pointed out as well is the concept of nurturing. Because in my life, I've had really good mentors and people who've gone before me. I've been able to stand on their shoulders. And I think something that Dan mentioned this morning about integration is something that I see very prevalent in women leadership. Because in the mentors that I've actually been in experience with, they come and they talk about life. They talk about how you improve yourself. They talk about how you become a more spiritually developed individual that's in service of the world. So there is that dimension of business, how do we build a profitable business? How do we train people so that they become, flourishing individuals? But then there is that whole integrated self of improving your self-knowledge and improving what you need to know around your limitations as well. So this sense of integration that I see in women leadership has been very predominant.
Okay, thank you. So Jannie, you mentioned something about the difference, distinct differences that women are more nurturing. Do you think that if there were more political leaders who were female, there would be less wars in this world?
Actually, it is sad, definitely, as you can see. Men are very much stuck in what their belief system is. And their belief system is very much about themselves first.
Any men would like to object or
I'm sure they all agree.
respond to this?
They're all fathers and husbands. And they believe that well, to be fair to them, this has been centuries, okay, that they're the hunters. They've got to bring in the money, and they're the ones who's looking after it. In fact, that is my basic family problem. Even my son and my ex believe they have to look after me. They forget that I'm actually a business person, a successful business person. I do not need looking after. And then they start thinking, Mom, you should actually retire at 60. I believe that I'm just in the middle age. I've got another 40 years to go. So why would I retire today? And when I attend the government sessions that we are in a silver tsunami, I say, how could you say that? Tsunami means they're dying. Silver means we have gray hair, excuse me. I think we are the golden serve. We're just ready for the next serve. So it's very much, and we know that, it's very much your mindset, your belief system. And through the education and the process, men has not changed. And this is why it's very sad, because they can't change to an evolving, whether it's their daughters or their wives, having changed. To be more educated, we are much more into a balanced world, we are more communicating, we're mixing a lot more. Whereas the men, if they have time, they think it's time that they should be playing golf with more men friends, and they do their more boys things. And as a result, they have lost what it is. When they were young, they're still with the kids, but now they're all about themselves and their men friends.
But having said that, I'm sure the men in this room are different.
Do you agree? No.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to say that I was so surprised and so happy to have this conference here to allow many men to start opening their minds up. And I mean it, because when you have a closed mind for so long, and women, we have to find a reason why are we so repressed, and why are we having to fight for our rights. And the fact that we've got it, gee, we're celebrating with it. And I'm still going through that process of trying to understand what's happening to my son and my ex.
So I'm going to put forth this scenario.
This is the life. I'm going through it, sorry.
I have met Caucasian men, and they have said to me, you know, people think that in Asia, the women are submissive, subservient. It says, this is really a myth.
Excuse
me? So do you agree with that?
Can I tell you, from my age group, when I have to be so happy that I could get an education. And that is, you know, this is talking about 61, 62. I was happy that I was one of the first ones to go to Melbourne to study, because I got my whole classmates doing so well to raise funds that we failed 32. 2 out of 30 out of 32 failed our A-level because we won the fundraising contest. So I have to go to Melbourne. And we're so grateful that our parents, our fathers would support us. They only support boys. When I did my master's, I was the first woman in Ipoh to do the master's. You know, and those were the challenge, these were the times that you have. And no one would actually, even at that time, you know, have a woman with a master's degree to employ, because it's science. Hey, this is business. So we've gone through all that. So at the end of the day, my father didn't think that I've got to work. But because he died when I was 17, I had to work, because we're being brought up that we get married. If you're not married by 22, 23, you're spinsters. Today, you don't hear of that, even at 40. So whether we like it or not, there's some cultural and mindset change. My husband, we thought, to me, he's the Lord and Master. You don't question him. When you come home, you're just great. In business, I can fight like hell, but when I'm home, I'm the submissive wife. Whether they like it or not, it's a culture.
And he's not here in this audience, right?
Well, he has to, even if he's here, he knows it's a fact. And I think this is where I come back to the basic thing. It's not about how we behaved in the past or how we behave today. Today, I hope all of you men here have to change your mindset about who you are, what you were, what you don't like about it, and what you need to change for the future, because it is the now. The now is that all of you are spiritual human beings. All of you should be enlightened, whether it's doing meditation, yoga, or moving to different things. It is about you today. And that's why you're all here, to change.
So may I now invite any man who would like to speak up? please do so. I mean, we would like this to be a very interactive session. And let's make it as enjoyable as possible because it's right after lunch as well. So could I have any show of hands? All right, right there. Yes,
right
thank
here.
you.
Since we are talking about men, and since women are talking about men, I'm not expressing any opinion. I just wish to point out one fact, that an overwhelming majority of men were raised by their mothers.
Well, what?
Raised by their mothers. Thank you for acknowledging.
Can I say something? I think Indian men, and I'm not being racial, they really, really respect their mothers. And in fact, the Indian mothers are the ones who normally host the families. And that definitely, I think, is very unique, especially to Indians.
Okay, so now let's hear from non-Indian
Oh,
men.
There's one there.
Yes,
Hello?
over there.
Right here. I'm not Indian.
I'm not discriminating. Women are allowed to speak as well, so. But I'm just trying to give men a fair chance. Yes, over there. Another Indian man?
Please ask them to introduce
The
themselves.
only African American.
Oh, African, sorry. Yes, it's a bit difficult to see from here.
No problem.
Go ahead.
I'm really moved by your words. That's what I really want to kind of put across. The bravery and the kind of just forthrightness of what you're saying, and I hope to, at some point in my life, if I do have a partner, to have that type of fierceness, and you know, this is not a man or woman kind of topic. This is a you know, gender is something that it's all of our, I guess, struggle. But I just wanted to kind of really say I'm admiring, especially in a, you know, I'm coming from the States where it's like women's issues have a bit more of it's a bit more mainstream, I guess you can say. Here, for you to really come out like that, that's amazing. I just wanted to say that I'm moved by it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, don't forget, there's an age element. I'm 70 years old, so I've lived through a lot of bad and good experiences, so I've learned.
Angie,
Yes.
if I may.
Where is the
I'm
sound?
just at the
Voice
back here.
coming in? Yes.
Okay, yeah. So sorry, I'm Indian, and I just wanted to maybe make a comment. I listened to this afternoon, and I appreciate the remarks made by Jannie and the team. And then what initial response as a man was to feel defensive, right? But then the more she explained it, the more I realized that those attributes of nurturing women leaders, for example, has a cause. And that cause was because of the role women play as mothers, or plays as mothers, and that brings out that nurturing quality. And so then there's a condition. So what I realized was that all the stereotypes that we are discussing is conditioned by a certain experience, right? Okay. So then what I then also wanted to just put on the table here is that I think there's a change that's now happening in society. This original or the old stereotypes of women staying at home, looking after the children, and men being the sole breadwinner, this is all changing now. I run a few parenting programs, and what's stunned me is that a lot of fathers are now getting very hands-on, yeah? And they see it as a totally equal role, and in some moments I find that because they don't have the conditioning or the load that mothers typically have to carry, they come in fresh. So for example, mothers take a lot on themselves with a lot of expectation that this is how a mother should be, and blah, 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 and that puts so much stress on them. But the father's coming in fresh without that baggage, and then trying to take the load off, they come with a different dynamic. So basically my point here is that the stereotypes that we are talking about have a condition that ends in this point.
Thank you.
And now that change is happening, the future is different. So my point is that I think talking about the stereotypes could actually hold us back from the new reality that our societies are evolving towards.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for your comment. I think we have some more hands coming up here. Yeah. And
Hi,
over there as
Jannie.
well. Yes.
Hi, thank you for sharing your view. I think it's spurred us all to think about the topic about men can't change. So,
So we have hope, is it, that men can change?
so my question is,
Okay.
right, on that, what's your view for our sons of tomorrow? What kind of values should they embody so that it can be a balanced value system and ecosystem where men and women could be partners? And Audrey, in your view, in today's society, do you see those values available in today's world?
Okay. So Audrey, maybe you might want to go first.
I'm just really blown away by the questions and the comments, and I must share that this gentleman was saying that boys are raised by their moms, and I see this value in our next generation of men, and particularly my other half. One of the key values that we see a lot come up is this concept of accountability. That the family and raising children is a shared, accountable, and responsible type of an endeavor. And so in his experience, he's been raised primarily by his grandmother. So this conditioning that he has with a room and a family full of very high-powered women, and grandma, who was a businesswoman as well, has led him to realize that women have actually nurtured many different people in their own families. And as a result of that, what has happened is it has actually kind of triggered his way also of operating in the business space. So he himself is an entrepreneur. And one of the key things that they have in the team is fathers, many fathers who are part of the company. And one of the key things that he often shares with me is, how do we create an environment where fathers can be at home to take care of their children? And they primarily run a technology business, so working from home and being with the children becomes actually a reality very easily. And I realized that that's kind of a new way of working. It's like a new kind of way of running a company and an organization, where again it goes back to what Dan was talking about, that it's integrated. That you have time for your family, but you have time as well for your passion, and you have time for business at the same time.
Yeah, I just like to say, sometimes it's not a problem between the couple. It's when the in-laws get involved, isn't it? So let me now pass this to you.
Well, as I said, for my age at 70, I have got different decades of different types of experience. The first part of my life, I would say up till 25 years, when I was building Hourglass, traveling 8 months of the year, I have to literally delegate my children to UK boarding school and another daughter in Melbourne because of her hearing impaired. She was not able to be educated in Singapore, so I've got to send her to Australia because that was the only place in Melbourne that would accept her. And that's why I felt I really nurtured and developed the Hourglass more, because they were more with me, and I was then able to do my business more, but I've delegated my own children. Having said that, as a result, I could not influence my son as much as I could because I was taking care of my 2 daughters. I had 2 handicapped children. My eldest daughter had brain damage at birth. It was cerebral palsy. And my youngest one, who was born 2 months later, had multiple handicaps. She had no ears, hole in the heart, and cleft palate. So it was like balancing the family at the same time with Hourglass being a public company, and at the same time your children. And my son got a less of my time because I've delegated him to my husband. And therefore, he's still very much male chauvinistic, even though he's 40, and in his mindset and culture. And this is why I think the nurturing part and the mindset part, I started by saying he thinks I should relax now, retire now, with all good intention, traveling around the world like a tai-tai and spend money that I could, but did not understand that this mother just realized that at 60, finally I have time for myself. I've finished with my kids, I can do what I want, and what I do seems to be very risky, especially in terms of money, and I'm going back to startups, which takes 10 years to 20 years to mature, and why would you do that? So I think that's a break in that sense. And for women like myself, unlike them, and I'm very happy to see the younger generation so holistic in their approach. We never had that chance. And I was very proud of the fact that you are already into that level of spirituality, of looking and integrating holistically a balanced life between business and spiritual and technology. That is the way to go at this next what do we call the golden age. But currently, I'm still battling with my old mindsets of my son, and I'm still battling how much can I really confront him with what it is that I feel and I know, and take him away from the old mindset, which is what he's been grounded in from the past. So this is my challenge, and that's why I know many of you will be going through that. Unless someone catalyze or facilitate that thought or that change, is going to remain there. And even though my son, who is 40, he's done everything, he's a director, he's done brilliantly in the work, but I just felt because I did not connect with him on the spiritual side or the emotional side or the family certain value side, I now have to look at it, but you just can't change it just like that. You just have to find a way, and I still haven't found a way yet. So I'm here listening to all that, I wish he's here, but unless they're exposed to something that requires that change. If not, you're business is all about making money, right? We've now built up a company with 700 million. He's done very well. The last 10 years, he's growing the company. So he's all about materialism. Then he's very successful. But at the end of the day, you go back to the spiritual side that you can make money, but it's not about money. It's about you and how you relate to money. And is money the most important thing that will give you life, love, and joy? It comes from your heart. So if you don't have the heart connection of love and compassion, and to be able to meditate and be aware of your higher consciousness, that requires a different level of your being. So how do you relate this dual part of you? Now, that's what I'm now facing. Maybe the next time I can share with you if I've succeeded.
Okay, thank you.
That's, as our other brother over there said, very moving. I grew up in a matriarchy, a very successful and highly motivated and I'd say powerful women. And I still have 3 wonderful sisters that also embody these qualities. But my question actually is related to fathers and being a new father. I'm the proud father of a daughter, a new father. She's quite young. And I'm wondering what you would give us as advice as fathers to raising daughters and girls in this new and different age that we've been discussing today. Thank you very much.
If I can start first, and I'm sure she will be the good example of how she's been nurtured, because I didn't do a good job there. I think because it's the mindset of the father. Obviously, with your new mindset now and being here and being aware, your daughter will grow up a balanced daughter because you're already aware. Our problem is that my ex-husband still believes that the daughters should be looked after. We do, as Asian parents, we looked after everything, give them everything, believing that if we give them a good life, a good education, we look after you, we buy you a house, we do everything for you, that is a fatherly's job. So if today, I look at her, obviously, she's much younger parents, grandparents, that money is not the most important thing. We did believe that when we start, money is the most important. You've got all the materialistic things in life. And it's at what point that you realize spirituality is as equally important, if not more important, if you're talking about happiness and joy and peace. So the money that I've learned does not bring me joy. In fact, it brought me heartache because it's relating to ego, to materialistic things, your desires, and everything that's outside you that makes you happy. Now, to be truly happy, there's the other aspect, which is what we're learning today, of meditation, yoga, that money is an end, but not the means to that. So that is the balance that every individual has to learn. My daughters have to learn, my son, she's learning, my son will have to learn, and my other daughter have to learn, because this is our individual journey. Maybe it's relating to incarnation, to karma, or whatever it is, but it is something that we can nurture them, but it's not necessary they'll end up the same way as we do. And my son was nurtured like that. Somewhere in the business world, he changed. And I'm hoping that that element of his family values or the nurturing of the spirituality will come back. So I'm really emphasizing that because I'm 70, I've gone through different changes of how we are. And I'm sure towards the end, he will be like me.
Thank you, Jannie. Okay, and now over to you, Audrey.
It's a really profound question that you asked. And for me, I think it's two things. It's love and it's gentleness. And why I say this is where there is love, there is space and there is freedom to dialogue and to have a relationship, with your daughter. And I realized that as a young woman, I've been very, very blessed to have a really good father. He's a really gentle man, very, very gentle with me, and he's never ever laid a finger, on me. And that's something that I profoundly appreciate about him. Very soft-spoken, and I realized that my fiance is like that too. He's very gentle, very soft-spoken, and I think at the heart of it is where there is love, there is dialogue that's able to happen and stories can come out and your experiences in life can begin to shape her world because your stories and what you say to your child in that loving and compassionate way begins to be her world. And as children, we live through our parents' eyes for a very long time until we realize that there's a sense of awareness and consciousness to begin to think for ourselves. So I see, probably the practice of love and gentleness.
You see? Yeah, that's great because that's exactly, I think what her parents, her father has done for her is the right thing. As I mentioned, in our generation, it's about money, it's about giving you all the material things, but we never have time to really talk about the love. We show it in materialism, but we don't show it in conversation. We never ever share our experiences. Like she's saying, we share our experiences through our business trips by bringing her there and different things. So I do believe that at the end of the day, it is love. It's a spiritual element and a connection. And once you've got that, the success of the money should not come in. It will happen if they choose something that they're driven towards. You could be a good teacher, you could be a good yoga teacher, you can be a good something, but that does not relate to money. It relates to your inner peace and happiness. And I think more and more, as I mentioned, it is up to the choice of the child towards the end. They need not be the top businessmen. I don't think any of my daughters would be, but I hope they can find joy in doing foundation work or spiritual or maybe just charity work. Because there's no more about making money and making more money because that also doesn't bring you happiness.
Thank you so much, Jannie, and thank you, Audrey. So we're coming to the end of the session. I would say that the fact that all of you are here, you are amazing, and your children will learn to be wiser, to be happier, because they see you as the role model. And children will always learn far more from what they see than what they hear from us. And as wisdom goes, which is different from intelligence, we change what we can and we accept what we can't. Then we'll have peace in our heart to move in this world in the right direction and inspire. So with that, I thank my panelists and all of you for your kind attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.